Real quick, before we get started with this, this is not Happy versus Firecake game number 3. If you guys are looking for that, you can find, go to Team Liquid, you can find Palmy stream, you can find Millennium TV stream, you can find Emil stream. Those guys are still covering it. Scumbag Rifia Swap series, because this is the one I've been waiting for all day, and I'm super sorry if that pisses you guys off. But I don't think you'll be disappointed, because spawning here in the lower left corner, this is the semifinals of the ZOTAC Cup. It's going to be the Red Protoss player first. And his opponent to the north and spawning to the top left, the Blue Terror player from Acer, MMA. Now I'm really stoked about this. I'm a big MMA fan. This is no surprise to anybody, sure. But first, this is the real first. This is the real deal. I know he's got a silly clan tag and a pretty cool commercial. But, wait, did I say commercial? I meant advertising thing, the little logo. Whatever this is called. Decal, there you go. My brain can't extract words. But this is confirmed by the admins, the real first. He actually won last week's ZOTAC Cup, worth noting, guys. But MMA here in full force is, I believe both of these guys are currently in Germany. We got WCS happening, you got the Acer Team Story Cup happening, you got wonderful things happening, so I'm not at all surprised to see MMA there, but first, of course, there for WCS. Now, coming across the map with this probe, going to scout around a little bit. He will luck out on this first scout, but TVP's in a very fickle spot. And I could talk circles around the BS associated with Reddit, with Team Liquid, what people think is OP versus not. But I truthfully, as much as I hate this matchup playing it myself, I will say wholeheartedly, I do think this is one of the more balanced matchups in the game when it comes to standard play. Now, that sounds like a big if and exception, but the reality is, I think Protoss cheese heavily outweighs the potential of Terrans to do something one basey all in it. You can't, there is no Terran equivalent of the Blink all in. But that's aside, I think this is one of the most fun matchups to watch if you go to the macro game. And these being very talented players, I think will take it to the macro game. Now, opening up on Frost as well, it's worth noting two different things, guys. One, the ZOTAC Cup is currently using the Season 2 of the WCS ladder map pool, so they've already updated it. We don't know the maps these guys picked, but in the ZOTAC Cup, you have to pick all 3 maps in advance. So I don't know if they'll be utilizing any of the new maps like Overgrowth or King Sejong Station or such. But on Frost, this is not a very Blink-friendly map. Not as far as, say, compared to Polar Night. So I don't know if that's going to be on First's mind at all, but curiously enough, out of MMA, he's left his one Reaper at home for now. And I think a big part of this is he's expecting a Zealot to come across the map, or at least catch this probe as it comes back in for the second round of scouting, and he'll do precisely that. Now, killing this probe early, it's not about stopping First from seeing what's in the base.
First blood.
But it's more... I just realized the pun there. First blood. It's more about making sure that probe's dead so they can't do anything else around the map. Now, oh no! He misscouted! MMA, what are you doing? Okay, so what happened, guys, to explain real quick, is he ducked in real quick. He's on no natural vine. Pokes up to the main. But because First always hides all of his tech behind his mineral lines, Happy doesn't see... Or sorry, not Happy. I'm getting all the wrong Terrans mixed up today. I call Happy MMA, call MMA Happy. But MMA realizes now, I think, that he scouted incorrectly. Oh, that is so awkward. Mothership Core is not going to be able to stop this command center, but will kill an SUV. There are 2 Marines out. 3 Marines are what you need for this. There you go, 4 in total, so you can actually deal with it. But realizing his mistake, now rushing to the bottom left, the Mothership Core coming from the south kind of revealed where the base was. First puts a pylon over here to help block out the Reaper, or at least give scouting information if it does come. And he knows this is coming. The probe was killed by it earlier. He's fully aware there's a Reaper available on the map. For MMA, his scouting is already suffering, to say the least. Not only can he not get in there with the Reaper comfortably right now, he was unable to discern where his opponent spawned right off the bat. Now, 2 Stalkers is going to be a big threat, but he sees the Stargate, and this is key. Okay, the Reaper's going to die, and that kind of sucks. And a big part of that's because First had really good probe control there, forcing the Reaper to go at the left where the Stalkers are waiting for him. But MMA knows it's going to be an Oracle now. And it's every Terran player's worst nightmare at the moment in the game, trying to guess, is it going to be an Oracle or not? Is it safe for me to push out or not? But 6 Marines is all you need to deal with an Oracle. If anyone tells you otherwise, you tell them they're lying. More Marines is always better, of course, but 6 is the bare minimum you need to deal with an Oracle. Now, the problem is, if you have 2 Stalkers knocking on your front door, the Oracle can sneak around the back. But MMA's got a Marauder, he's got a healthy Marine count. I don't think First will be able to necessarily bust through this. Yeah, especially with the Marines to help cover this. Now, unfortunately, there's no bunker. This would be the most comfortable scenario, but as the Marines chase outwards, MMA's got to keep on in mind, like, I saw a Stargate. I know he's baiting me out. And that's going to be the case here. Marines not quite in position, not responding immediately. We'll lose a couple of workers. Stalker's coming in for the back end, but he picks off the Oracle, which removes the threat from the field. And there's no second Oracle made behind this. A very common Protoss way to play the game out right now in TVP as well is you open with the Oracle. And this is specifically in Europe especially, so I'm not at all surprised to see a Korean player able to utilize this comfortably, but you open with an Oracle, you follow it up with armor, you go for charge lots, you get storms later on down the line, but the point is that Oracle is supposed to stay alive to prevent to cause a threat. Now hang on, big scan out of MMA, sees all the tech coming up, pylons, gateways, Twilight Council even, he sees the Forge researching, and he saw another Oracle being produced. That was the biggest, the moneyest scan MMA could have possibly gotten. Now as the Oracle moves across the map again, it's not going to be a threat. There's a missile turrets down in both of the mineral lines, but also beyond this, no second Oracle to be a threat. No way to just dive in and kill some SCVs. Because normally with that first Oracle dying, it's not, well, it's not supposed to die, but staying alive makes it just a significant harassment issue to deal with. But he's got Marines positioned everywhere, 6 and 6 in each location. He's ready for this Oracle. And unfortunately, first is going to run into a bunch of stim Marines, but he will actually keep the Oracle alive with 22 health. Backs on out of the base for now, but Blink on the way. Whoa, 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 whoa. Back this up. Not charge? Not charge. Interesting, interesting. Not that this is a bad choice, but I think I'm comfortable saying, or guessing rather, that first probably changed and went for Blink after seeing that MMA had scanned him. I mean, you're going to want +1 armor at some point in the game anyways, but now we see him transitioning into weapons, which to me says Robotech, which to me says Colossus. But 6 gateways for now, lots of stalkers available. He's got a giant bush to worry about. Mothership Core is primed and ready with an overcharge. But MMA's got to make it up this ramp first. And if first can use force fields combined with stalkers to cut these numbers out and not have to burn an overcharge early on, that's his best case scenario. Even the Oracle's been brought home. But I think the Oracle, while it's going to shred Marines with its light bonus versus light damage, I think its best utilization at the moment would be to Revelation on the army. To know where MMA is at all times and not have to guess about if he'll be coming through the natural, if he'll be coming through the main, and whatnot. But actually getting over here, we'll find a couple of SCVs in awkward spots. Building supply depots, top of the refinery. Might try and pick it off, but I think that actually spooked MMA. A little bit worried now on the return. We do have charge finally coming out, and Temple Archive started up. Storm going to be a bit late, but I think first was really worried about what MMA was doing, and I'm not entirely sure why. He had a pretty good composition to stave off initial aggression. Sure, that's cool. And it's not like he was building up to go for this crazy one-base Colossus all-in or anything. He has natural down for a long time. So the choice to go for that weird tech swap, I guess, was more cautionary than anything else. I mean, Blink is a nice utility. Throughout the entire game, it stays good. It's like Stimpack. You're never going to not want to have Blink. It's just, for him to have gone for it first like that, I'm not sure what he was expecting. The reason I was guessing Colossus and some extra damage is because that's what you pair up. You go for Stalkers with damage upgrades and Blink to deal with the Vikings so you can comfortably get the Colossus behind it. But now that we have the Storm on the way and the charge when level 2 armor started late, I actually really don't like this. The advantage of having the armor early is because you catch your opponent off guard. You catch the Terran player when they're on low upgrades and they can't tear through your shields. But now that instead of having +3 armor like you would normally have versus Marines, or rather be on the way to +3, he's only just started +2 armor. Now, between Guardian's Shield and Zealous having a really high base armor to begin with, these should take very little damage from Bio initially. This pylon coming down up here is a bit of a role reversal too. A lot of the times this Marine sitting on top, medevac dropping units out to rain hell on the SCVs mining from this base, but instead it's going to be probably Zealot warping, maybe directly to the mineral line? I'm not sure. The bunker choice out of MMA is actually great. That's going to help cover this up, not just from keeping the Zealots from walking straight into the mineral line. It'll actually protect this base a little bit, but it's not quite done yet, and Zealots are already on top of this. We do see them though with only +1 armor, they take damage from Marines, unlike normal scenarios. SCVs are not quite in a hold position, but the army's brought back, and he'll deal with this. Not a big problem. Bunker goes back to being remade. He's got to wonder though, like, where did those Zealots come from? Doesn't scout the top of the cliff, however. First, being as good as he is though, using that opportunity to make an opening, gets through the middle of the map with his army, but this is not where he wants to be. Perhaps thought it was a little bit safer than it really was. And worth noting, guys, no oracles! Or not oracles, sorry, no observers. Well, an oracle would actually do the job too, I guess, ironically enough, but no observers. I'm not sure if he saw the Widow Mines. But Widow Mines are a bit of a controversy in TVP at the moment. And a big, well, okay, now he sees the depot or the pylon for sure. But the reason Widow Mines are a bit of a controversy at the moment is they got buffed in a recent patch. They already one-shot pretty much any ground unit that can walk on top of them, save an immortal. But more importantly, on top of this, whoa, actually, did he go for a drop and I missed it? Okay, it was a minor drop. Didn't get a lot done. But more importantly than that, it does a ton of splash damage now. The bonus versus shields was increased significantly in recent patches, and if you got enough Widow Mines down, you're not going to worry about EMPs, you're not going to worry about a Protoss army, you're going to just straight up do damage. But now we got observers on the way. We finally got Colossus, the robo base started. It's going to be difficult to say the least for MMA to break this. But for first, he needs to buy himself a lot of time to get those Colossus out, to get those upgrades finished up. I mean, his tech should be 3-1 or at least 3-0 at the moment as far as upgrades goes, but still in level 2 armor. MMA is going to have level 2 weapons. He's actually going to be able to contend with these Zealots not too poorly. And an awkward drop will catch an awkward drop. Warp Prism will unfortunately not make it out of there alive. It does not even unload its cargo, sadly. Pylon was cleaned up around the third, and looks like MMA will be pushed back with this minor push. This minor attack that he had coming towards the south. But we finally have the Ghost Academy on the way. He's going to be able to start trading over versus these High Templar a little bit easier, a little bit better. And of course, let's not forget, even if First does decide to dedicate purely to Colossus and stops producing Templar, which, let's be honest, he shouldn't do, there's going to be a lot of EMPs. And to explain it a little bit, I guess elaborate more, his shouldn't do would mean just don't ever stop making High Templar. A storm is always going to be good. Forcing out an EMP, forcing out double snipes, forcing out your army to be in a weird position just because you got Templar is always going to be good. But spread out nicely here in the middle of the map, and some small hit squads going off. What MMA is hoping to do is not only bait out storms, but catch his opponent's Templar. Whoa, first. That first storm was a big whiff. I'm not sure what that was supposed to be. MMA's army is looking pretty good. 128 supply over 92, though, is not that scary. With the amount of area of effect between storms, between Colossus blasts, once they're finally available, between force fields and guardian shields, I mean, First has certainly got the capability to hold this off, but it's a lot easier said than done. A decent storm does go off, but there's a lot of Widow Mines that he's got to worry about. Marauder's kind of going to pick off that one High Templar. No Archon, surprisingly enough, out of First either. I was really expecting that, but another good storm does go down, and these Widow Mines, well, they're getting really low from the AoE, that's for sure. Not to mention the bio, but top of the cliff is all he needs to do. Take out that one Templar, sit up there, rain some damage down top of the probe line. It looks like he's actually going to pick off a couple of cannons. Still going to try and deal with this. Now no high ground vision available. The Marauder's going to comfortably just sit there and kill. Kind of wish a couple of Marines were there too. We did have a Zealot run by while this was going on, so I didn't quite catch that. As this base is under attack, Marines and SCVs struggling to deal with this, but MMA's forces are all over here and concentrated in the southern base. The third base of First. Mothership Core will pop off. Little unfortunate, but already burned its second overcharge at this point, so realistically, not the biggest loss in the world. Two Colossus, though, are really scary for MMA to deal with, but he comes in from multiple angles. He's got a couple of Vikings on top of this, too. Colossus taking some hits, but nothing too dangerous immediately. 4 Vikings will disengage in that one Colossus. Oh, he's going to go back for it. Widowmine's going to pop off on top of the Zealots, and looks like he should be able to retreat out of here. First took a lot of damage, to say the least, but he didn't lose the base, and he didn't lose a countless amount of probes. Meanwhile, MMA's had his entire base gutted. First has killed 30 SCVs, and it's finally gets cleaned up. But here comes a counterattack across the map, and First held with a lower army supply. Now he's on an even army supply. The key difference is MMA's actually got Ghosts in his defense this time, something he did not have available in that attack. So we do have some Archons warping in, and some Templars certainly available to do some storm damage. EMPs will make quick work out of both of these units, if used correctly. But beyond this, there's one Colossus. The Vikings should be able to deal with this. It's the Stalkers that are a little bit scary in that regard, but there should be enough Marauders to trade out in the middle of the ground army. This is what I love about TVP, guys. EMP's blanket everything. No storms available. Colossus will go down, and this army should be able to take this. There's no EMPs left for the Archons, however. Vikings are going to land. It looks like MMA might be in a bit of trouble. Both players trade out pretty nicely, and the army supplies are starting to equalize quite a bit. But that blink backwards will not contend with the stim pack that MMA has available. However, the Zealots charging in from that warp in are going to be the reinforcements he really needed to stay alive. Backing away each player with a very small army, and quite frankly, they lost a lot of their high-tech units. MMA was going to try and land a base over here, but looks like he had to lift it up upon the revelation of a, oh, caught my pants down type deal. But First is also going to try and, I wouldn't say ninja expand, but secret expand over here. Oh, depots are down, and MMA is going to let some Zealots into his natural base. Turns around with the Marines to stim and deal with this. SCVs are pre-pulled. It's always a bit hairy though. You never really want to pull SCVs versus Zealots. It doesn't matter what stage of the game it is. Some in the main as well. MMA is target firing these to shut them down, but looks like that command center will live. Pylon will be cleaned up. And MMA is starting to get control of his field of the map. Level 3 weapons, level 3 armor on the way for both our Terran player. Actually, not both our Terran player, but only level 3 armor on the way for Protoss as well. So it'll be 3-3 versus 3-2, I imagine, by the next big engagement. But it's 76 supplied and 52. This is a lot different than 123 to 90 though, guys. At this point, MMA's got a very distinct advantage moving towards the southern part of the map. Colossus are not exactly protected by the Stalkers. However, I believe MMA lost all of his... Yes, he did lose all of his Vikings, and he hasn't remade any yet. So he's going to be relying on a combination of EMPs and Stim Marauders to really deal with this effectively. He's moved the army here towards the south, but it's kind of scary because that kind of opens up his natural, that opens up his main. But MMA, oh dear. He doesn't know about this base. He's going to find out about it by accident. He's also going to find the army on accident. Medevacs are going to go down, and unfortunately we'll lose their cargo as well. Marauders might get a kill here too. No, he tries to stim them away. Doesn't work in the end. But double drops, sorry, quadruple drops heading towards the natural here. This is going to be hard to deal with because First is really out of position and he's got no mothership core, no recall potential. This Nexus is going to get picked off, no problem. Workers pulled into the main, but let's not forget, MMA can always lift and get out of here. And that's going to be the case. So a bit of damage done, a base is sniped, and 5 Marines make it to the main. They spread out to be a bit of a hazard, I guess. Zealots are going to eventually deal with this. MMA comfortably on 4 bases finally, though. He's got the planetary fortress down. I'm going to get some swig of drink here. One sec, guys. Throat's starting to go crazy after the yelling so far, but First moving across the map to the top right. I think he's assuming MMA tried to retake this base after clearing out the pylon, but we know it's the planetary fortress over here. Scan does go down, looking at the... Where is he looking at that scan? Middle of the map, okay. Trying to find First's army. It's a little bit scary. You don't know where your opponent is right now. There's a planetary fortress here, but it's not like cleaning up links. Zealots still take quite a hit. They take quite a beating. Coming here from the north, Widowmine will reveal what's up. It picks off a Stalker as well. MMA is already moving to react to this, though. However, I don't know if he necessarily can. Again, the Viking count is kind of low. The Stalkers can get some free kills, which is kind of cool, I guess. But First is so wildly out of position without a... Well, he does have a mothership core now. Sorry, he didn't have one earlier. A little worried about that, but these Templar are clumped up. Gotta be careful. While Storms will be really good to choke off on the bridge, EMPs will be even better if they can blanket every single one of these Templar. I can't believe the back and forth that's been going on too. First taking another base down here on the lower right. MMA is actually going to be behind on bases. Oddly enough, as a Terran player, you're usually ahead because you've got 7 orbitals to spare. You've got a ton of extra mules to drop, but MMA is actually not in that sort of condition, not in that position at least. And he's been, granted, trying to get some work done with drops, but First has been quick to respond. Now, it's worth noting he never remade his natural base, and I think that's a pretty smart choice, actually. As there's such a low mineral count here, I don't think it's worth warranting a whole Nexus, so he's just doing a long-distance mine for the time being. How many gateways does he currently have? 13 gateways available. That's a lot of warping potential. Can you imagine if you got a warp prism out, 13 DTs get warped into the main, or 13 Zealots even get warped into the main? That could be really dangerous for MMA. But both players are approaching max. It's worth noting we still don't have level 3 weapon upgrades complete just yet for First. These are objectively late to the party, so to speak, especially with Chrono Boost being available. But Dark Shrine on the way, Ghost do Cloak as they move forward. Some EMPs should be able to go off here despite the Observer. Does blanket a good chunk of the Colossus, but misses the Archon, sadly. Vikings are going to dive in for this, though, and the Marauders will give chase. This is a very bad choke for MMA to move into, though, and he knows it. Storm's going to be a big problem, and that Time Warp will keep the Ghost back a little bit longer. Still trying to land off a couple more EMPs, or rather snipes going off. One Marine giving chase is a very brave soldier. But some Zealots here in the north. The bunker is, oh god, half dead. There's no way it lives to this. SCVs are not pulled in time to repair, and this base, again, will be a big issue. He decides to pull the SCVs out of there saying, screw it, not dealing with this. But it's Ghost Academies there, and he can't afford to lose that, so he's going to have to actually go back to defend. If he lets this go down, MMA's in a lot of trouble, that's for sure. Ghosts have been a very, very strong component of his army, and I like to talk about it, but it doesn't happen as much anymore. There's kind of this, like, I feel ultimate endgame Terran versus Protoss composition that is primarily Ghost Viking, and that's kind of what MMA is working towards here. He's going to have so much cloak available to him. If he picks off the few observers, in fact, I think there's only one, right? No, there's 4 observers. But if he picks off the few observers on the map, there's nothing to detect his cloak. Widow Mines, Ghosts become infinitely stronger. Moving forward here towards the mid game though, it's quite scary. So he doesn't really have any upgrades for these Vikings either. Level 2 weapon upgrades are on the way, but he certainly doesn't have the amount to just simply volley down these Colossus. And oddly enough, it's worth noting, he's actually not even able to get supply capped, as he's stuck on 188 out of 200. But, oh, more Zealots walking by, and these Templar here this time, and there's no turret. There's no way to really deal with this. He is going to repair the bunker, however, and hope that this will hold him into the game. Dark Templar going to walk right past this, though, and go towards the natural. While this happens, he's scanning around, looking for what's safe to go. Moves in the middle of the map, picks off a couple of the observers, too, with those scans, worth noting. Another observer goes down, and that leaves MMA with 3. A couple of feedbacks going off as Storm's trading out for that bio, but one Dark Templar here at the natural, starting to kill SCVs, starting to kill a lot of SCVs. Remember, it was 30 dead before, up to 49 now. And let's not forget, these medevacs are kind of low on energy. The stims are not going to be available forever, and he can't keep stimming his army like this. He simply cannot afford to heal it. But okay, some ghosts moving forward. A storm does go down. He might not have detection, but he can see the blurs. And MMA's got to be careful. The longer he leaves these ghosts stealth, the less EMPs he'll have available to him. First thing, screw it. Let's just get around the map. Let's move out. Another base falls, but he's got these lower 2, and I don't think MMA has any knowledge of this, so he might be assuming first is now on 1 base. But we know that's not the case. The army's looking pretty strong. 145 to 133. And these Dark Templars still haven't been fully dealt with. This one's got 8 kills. I think there's another one. Looks like one of the main actually did get cleaned up. Can he scan? Oh, he can't afford to scan right now. He's got no energy. That sucks. Army unable to effectively deal with this. SCV spam repairing the heck out of this bunker. There is, granted, no turret here, so these Dark Templar might... There we go, force out a scan at the very least. There's a tactic, by the way. I can't remember who did it. It's driving me nuts. I think it was Crass. It was a European player. But every Terran player will eventually lift their factory before Widow Mines were good. And he would actually leave it on this bridge to prevent walk-bys and run-ins. But, oh, there's one Dark Templar in the main's picking off all the add-ons. Oh, that is such a pain in the ass to deal with. He's got 13 kills on him, and I think about a couple of those are add-ons. But still, looks like he will clean this up. No one to deal with for now. Coming around the 3rd base or 4th base location, I guess, depending on your point of view, MMA is going to have to deal with this. This is where his fresh orbitals are going to be coming in. This is where he's going to have to deal with a very unfortunate army fight. He doesn't have a lot of EMPs available, but a couple good ones do go off initially. Or one good one goes off initially. You'll notice MMA intentionally stimming parts of his army forward before the rest, guys. This is to catch the Templar with those storms before they can really do much damage. But still pushing forward here. He's got to be careful. This is a very dangerous choke, and these Vikings are starting to get really low to those storms. Stalkers blink over to the right, but they're focusing on the ground units instead of the Vikings. So the Vikings start taking out the Colossus. All 5 of the Colossus go down, and now there's nothing left on the ground for first. But don't forget, he's got 13 gateways worth of warping potential. But he's wasted so much of it trying to harass MMA's top base, so he doesn't have a bank to fall back on. A Colossus is being remade and a couple Templar coming out, sure, but I don't think MMA now realizes he doubles the army supply of first in a big way. Now pushing towards the middle of the map, says, you know what, I'll get on top of your production. If this is going to be a base trade, first cannot win it with this small, measly amount of units. I don't think he can even bust the planetary with what he has. So coming here towards the main, this is looking to be about game for first, guys. He's got one Dark Templar here, but it's going to be picked off thanks to the scan. Vikings do land, and this entire base is going to get leveled by MMA. He's actually stuck on the ramp, though. He needs to move up the ramp. MMA, move up. Drag your units. Move command. Quit A-moving. While this is going on, though, he's going to lose everything to this counterattack. So, again, it's going to be a base race maybe a little bit, but I think he'll be able to hold at the natural at the very least. Couple Dark Templar here, as well as some Templar are a bit annoying to deal with. He can scan in 2 seconds. He's going to need to as well. These Dark Templar are a huge nuisance. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, he's actually wasting his scans over here. I shouldn't say wasting. I guess there's maybe a Dark Templar there that we didn't see. But first, he's trying to rebuild over here. Or no, he's not. Well, I was expecting first to already have flopped down like 7 more gateways. He's just now looking to do that with that pylon coming down, but he's lost most of his tech. The Cybercore hasn't gone down yet, so he can throw down a Robo if he needs to. But at this point, I think it's Templar mostly that will keep him in the game. Dark Templar is still, well, it's a new one, but he's still just going for the add-ons. I love that choice out of first. Really smart, really annoying stuff. And I didn't even catch this. He actually built a pylon. That's how he got all these crazy warpins. I don't know when this got made, but this got made a while ago, and I guess that's where all those zealots came from. Pushing down here towards these cannons, though the cannons got nothing on this many Marauders. Medevacs are completely out of energy, though, so unable to stim. If he eats any amount of storm damage, it could be dangerous. MMA's army looks really big right now, guys, but this could cripple and fall in an instant, and that looks to be what's happening as these storms are connecting pretty well. This army completely in the red takes out another base, and MMA still hasn't seen the lower right half of the map, so he doesn't know there's 2 fully saturated bases here. Tons of gateways coming in, but I don't know if First is going to have the economy to really stay in this game. 7 gateways worth of Zealots will not fend off an army. Planetary Fortress here in the north, going to try and hold too. MMA getting a little bit, I wouldn't say desperate, but scared for money. Planetary's actually burning. He's going to have to repair that soon. Did he take out the Dark Shrine? Looks like most of the tech's been cleaned out here too. Oh god, that means no Templar Archives. That means no Templar, no Dark Templar. He's trying to morph in all these warp gates, but unfortunately, there's nothing he can do. I think this is absolutely it now. First says his last couple bases already been pounced upon. Most of these Marauders are almost dead, sure, but these Zealots aren't going to contend with this army. And ladies and gentlemen, I think MMA has finally secured his victory in this game. If not with this push, at least with a follow-up guaranteed, because First is only going to have Zealots to defend with. Without a Cybernetics core, he can't even make the Stalkers, so these last 2 Templar are like his last 2 Templar. And Archon being merged in, I guess you can call it. Army is being driven back, but like I said, guys, it's these new Medevacs. It's the new Marauders and Marines that'll be able to push it in this game. MMA was fighting with an army on its last limbs for the last 10 minutes. He's had no energy. No energy to heal at all. But now he's got some stims available. He's got an army that's good to go. He did lose the Ghost Academy and most of his add-ons, so he can't make ghosts anymore. Which is a little unfortunate, but at this point I think it's just brute force that he needs. First is warping in a ton of Zealots, granted, but MMA, as you see, starting to kite this back a little bit. Army spread pretty nicely. The DPS is certainly here with 3-3, but yeah, First is just struggling. Just struggling at this point. Temple Archives is finishing soon. If First could get a, if he had a Twilight, or sorry, he's finishing the Twilight Council. If he had a Templar Archives, maybe he makes Templars and gets back into that game. But that game was the definition of attrition, ladies and gentlemen, towards the end. So congratulations to MMA as he squeezes game number 1 as a victory. Game number 1 going to MMA. Oh, jeez. That was a good series. And it's not done yet. We're going to hop into game number 2 in a moment, guys.